Hello everyone. We're going to tap into part 2 of the Aquarius cell salt sign Nat Mur. And has two co-rulers, Saturn and Uranus. And we just covered Capricorn part 2 recently again. So we've got a Saturnian aspect as well with Aquarius, obviously, because it's any good astrologer will know that's the traditional ruler of Aquarius, but it also has another ruler called Uranus. And George W. Carey, because really this series is devoted to him, makes a profound statement, and I want to read this out because this is important, because this is another mineral like calcium phosphate that makes up majority of the body's constitution, because obviously we are at least 70% water and we need a lot of natrium myrrh to be able to really survive. So he says, with the exception of phosphate of lime, the human system contains more sodium chloride than any other inorganic salt. The reason for this may be readily understood when we realize that our bodies are about 70% water, which in the absence of sodium chloride would be inert and useless. It is the power that this salt has to use water that renders it of any value to man. The same holds for plants and vegetables, obviously. So we need an abundance of this to be able to absorb water correctly within the body. And it's an interesting salt because clinical experience will tell you that a lot of skin problems need this salt. And I think I covered this in the first part, obviously, because I covered a lot of actions and indications, but this one particularly because it is a fact that when we lack blood, because we've got to remember Nat Mur or Aquarius rules the venous circulation as well. This is important to understand. But the whole concept of this salt really, and his Perry summarizes it pretty much beautifully in the way that we talk about skin conditions in Chinese medicine, because there can be a variety of reasons for skin conditions. Skin conditions are really one of the most difficult to treat. And of course, before when I talked about Capricorn, the phosphate of lime, calc phos, Saturn generally has an affinity with skin problems. It kind of rules the epidermis of the body, and obviously being a co-ruler of Aquarius, and Aquarius being that in tune with venous circulation, then we need adequate blood to be able to attack, and attack's not the right word, to be able to get on top of skin conditions, so to speak. So when we are deficient in the fluid, we're not going to be able to have it. And I think one of the beautiful things about this salt, because from a Chinese medical point of view, a lot of skin problems, like Iniz Perry points out in the esoteric side of this, is you need adequate blood. And a lot of skin problems in Chinese medicine will come from a blood deficiency, especially the really chronic ones. And so we need to build this deficiency. And how are we going to do it? Well, Nat Mur, we need to build yin and we need to build water. Yin is a watery substance. So we need to build yin. It's important. And this salt beautifully, in my opinion, does that, because it has the ability to attract water when we don't have it, and the ability to vaporize it when we have an excess amount of it. That is edema or rhinitis, hay fever, when we get the wind cold conditions with the clear runny discharge. Nat Mur can be another indication how to use this salt in conjunction with, say, ferrum phos or whatever it is at the time. But another important point to understand too, on a more esoteric note, that Aquarius rules electricity. So blood carries an electric charge. And the ancient Chinese knew this a long time ago, because they say that it's not the heart that pumps blood, it's qi. And qi really is the electric charge in the blood. And this is important to understand, because to get adequate blood circulation, we need an abundance of qi. And I really find that the sign of Aquarius is really deeply connected to this electric charge in the universe, so to speak. And when we look into it on a different note, the waves we've got here, and we can see this in the star card there, the waves or the frequency which create the letter M and W, because it can be either one, right, that rule this kind of, they connect to, when we look at the etymology of these letters, can connect to water, and water conducts electricity. And I personally think this salt is deeply connected in Chinese medicine to what they call Wei Qi, which is rooted in Yang Qi. That's a whole different story altogether. But when we're talking, we can look at this star card beautifully on Crowley's deck. When he's talking, you can see that spiral coming from the star, the northern star, or the Polaris, which is connected to the Big Dipper. And the Big Dipper is very deeply connected to the constellations Ursa Minor, Ursa Major. But in Taoism, it's a very big thing. They mention the Big Dipper a lot. But we can see that these waves coming from this star, in my opinion, are connected to the ether drift through space. And Wilhelm Reich beautifully understood this through his discovery of orgone, which has a lot to do with Wei Qi. And Wei Qi, like I said, is deeply rooted in Yang Qi, which is your immune system. And this salt is connected to this. It's connected to the Wei Qi, how we build our immune system. How do we build our immunity? I think Nat Mur is one of these salts, one of these key salts for this. And the electricity side, the electric, or the universe is electric, there's electricity in space, which is deeply, deeply healing. And if any of the listeners have really dug into Reich's work, will really understand this. If you built yourself orgone boxes, or you've had experiences in orgone boxes, accumulator boxes, or in with orgone blankets, will know this. So I just find this fascinating in connection with this. And this is why you'll see when people do Tai Chi exercises, they're doing these spiral movements, because they're tuning in to this ether drift that it runs through space in this spiral motion. And I think this card beautifully exemplifies that, and its connection to Uranus and the Wei Qi. And what do we get when we're Nat Mur deficient, right? We get hay fever, we sneeze. We look groggy, we look run down, and we can get a spongy, bloated appearance in the face. We can wake up feeling hungover. And this is indicative of this salt. It's one of the key indications for it. But there can also be, especially when there's deficient fluid, right, in the brain. Too little fluid in the brain is an important one to consider as well, because this will cause insomnia, and this can cause the drowsiness as well. And like Inez Perry says in the book, this is what really causes sleepy sickness when people, and I get them in clinic all the time, they just, especially with skin problems. And the reason I'm harping on about this skin is because this is one of the most abundant minerals in the body. And when we lack yin, we're going to lack blood. And then when we lack blood, the surface of the skin, from a Chinese meta point of view, is going to generate wind. And what that means is you're going to get scratch, you're going to get itchiness. Itchiness in Chinese medicine is wind. Itchy eyes, itchy skin. Tics and tremors as well can start manifesting this in the body when we lack fluid. It's not always a mag-phos deficiency. I think I said that in part 1. But, so This fluid can be connected to the astral fluid as well. And I think deeply tied in with the etheric body, which is the same concept of Wei Qi as well, to be able to tune into that spiral. This energy that is in the atmosphere that is deeply healing. And when we understand how to do this, because I think in one of my lectures I did on, I'm pretty sure I've got this up on YouTube, I'm not sure yet, on just basically how to cultivate health. I talk about using this, the Tai Chis, the Qigongs and things like this to really generate a lot of this Wei Qi within our systems, so to speak, strengthen it. Because things like hay fever and allergic reactions are not a histamine problem, they're an immune system problem. So this salt in particular is phenomenal, and so many, it's needed in a lot of people, obviously, like calcium phosphate, because it is one of the most abundant minerals in the body. And like with all cell salt prescriptions, we do need at least 4 salts in conjunction with a lot of cell salt prescription. So basically for skin stuff, generally I will prescribe this, generally as a rule. And then, you can check into, obviously you're going to need ferrum phos because there's going to be some heat and inflammation. A lot of people are usually going to be deficient in that. You can, this, especially Nat Mur combined with calc phos, is extremely good for burning itching on the skin. Because you've got to remember, like I said in the Scorpio part 2, calc phos is deeply indicated for the burning sensations in the body. And of course, Kali Mur is another one that's going to help in conjunction with the blood. But I really wanted to just talk on this in the part 2. And I'm going to do a Patreon account. Well, I've just started a Patreon account, actually. For those interested who want to know a little bit more, I'm going to go through a lot more in-depth stuff with prescriptions on there. But I just personally want people to join something like that before. I just don't want to randomly talk about that stuff on YouTube so much. But just to give you guys a basic indications of this, I find this salt extremely, it's amazing. And really, when we do, I think that one of the most important things, especially because building yin and blood is not an easy thing to do. And it's one thing we don't really consider to do in terms of looking at skin. And I think this is one of the unique things about Chinese medicine. And the other really unique thing about this, I think Aquarius in general is ruled by the herb astragalus, which is what they call, in Chinese medicine, huang qi. And huang qi is a very strong raising herb. So it raises energy right up. It's one of the primary herbs we use for immune system. On a mineral level, it's full of zinc and selenium, which are one of the major antioxidants for fighting cancer. But that herb is ruled by Aquarius. And it's an incredible herb, but it's one herb you need to use sparingly because it's only really used for the deficiency, so to speak. And this is one of the things that you get into when you get right into herb medicine, because if you prescribe huang qi when you're already sick, you're going to strengthen the pathogen, and you sure as hell don't want to do that. That kind of herb, astragalus huang qi, you only use when you just generally, when you're feeling pretty good and you just want to tonify and strengthen your immune system when you've already been run down and deficient. So usually sometimes with herbal medicine prescriptions, I'll combine that with Nat Mur in a herb medicine formula, but that's really too deep to go into here. But I just throw that right in there because astragalus huang qi is ruled by this sign as well. So this is just another little take on the cell salt natrium myrrh and its wondrous There's so many things to consider esoterically as well. And I could talk about it, but I don't want it to be a 2-hour kind of talk. So next time I shall move into the salt of Ferrum Phos. We'll get into Ferrum Phos, and we'll talk about my thoughts on a little bit of that on part 2 next time.